Hola mama, hola mama, hola mama, hola
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of
Are You Two Sisters?
Can you count?
No. I can't count. This is SummerSlam Axxess 2011. This is a little different. She has an injured knee and she just had surgery, so she'll be on crutches again this year like she was last year. We met a little bit more people compared to 2010.
Yeah, crutches definitely suck, especially for SummerSlam Axxess. And unfortunately, like she said, I'll be on them this year as well because I just had surgery. But that being said, this is all about SummerSlam Axxess 2011. It's very similar to 2010, like we said. It's outside. There's tons of stages for people to meet superstars. This time, though, we went to all 3 sessions, and we actually had VIP for one of the sessions. So that would be Edge. He'll be coming up here shortly. In addition to everybody else, the people we met were Justin Gabriel, Ted DiBiase Jr.,
Wade Barrett, Beth Phoenix, Alicia Fox, Sheamus, Kofi Kingston,
Evan Bourne, Alex Riley, Primo, Santino,
Christian, Cody, Vicki, Guerrero, and Dolph Ziggler, Tyson, and Drew McIntyre,
Daniel Bryan, Maryse, Eve, Sergeant Slaughter, Edge, like we mentioned, and John Morrison. We don't have enough time to tell you all these stories, so what we're going to do is we're going to do our instant classic countdown like we always do.
And if you want to hear some of the other stories, they were all nice. Some were more quiet than the others, but some of them didn't really have a moment of just, oh, they were nice, they kind
of went through the motions, they signed the paper, took a picture. But like she said, if you want to hear, if there's someone that we mentioned that you'd like to hear the more details of what actually happened,
or what they're like, or whatnot,
shoot us a comment, message, something like that. We'll be more than glad to tell you
more in
detail of what exactly went down. But like she said, they were all very nice. We definitely recommend all of them. They were all very nice, very friendly. But with that being said, I guess that's
a
classic countdown. So as we say, that's what's up. Alright, this is instant classic moment number 4. SummerSlam Axxess 2011. This is actually meeting the one and only, my number 1, Christian. We got to meet him when he was champ, which was just so awesome. I am the biggest fangirl for like the belts, especially with their nameplates. So
amazing to
sit there and see the belt like right there on the table with him and with his name on it, I was like, I want to touch the belt. I didn't get to, but
he didn't bring it down.
We got pictures of it, so that's nice. He came down to meet us. At that point, I had been on my knee for like at least 6-7 hours, and my knee cannot handle that because it was still injured at that time. So as I was walking on my crutches, my knee was giving out. I was falling. She had made the joke earlier that day. She was like, "Just don't do it in front of Christian." So her cursing me and jinxing me, of course.
I'd love to leave because
Well, we get up there to meet him, and I had told him I've been a Christian fan since the Brood.
And she told me, she's like, "Dawn, I want to tell him congratulations on the belt." I'm like, okay. So I knew that if she couldn't do it, I would say it for her.
The first thing, when he came down, I was like, I'm going to say this. And so I flat out warned him. I was like, this is going to sound stalker, and I'm sorry. Or this is going to sound stalkerish, and I'm sorry. Which, by the way, he thought that was hysterical.
Yeah, so say stalker.
He laughed so hard. And I flat out told him, I said, I've been watching you since the Brood, and I am so glad you got that belt. I was like, I am so proud of you, and I am so glad. And he kind of
smiled big.
Yeah, he just smiled so big, and he kind of blushed. Like, I don't think anybody actually ever has really said that to him, and it was kind of nice. Like, he kind of put his arm on. He didn't say much. He said thank you, and he kind of just tugged me near him and kind of gave me a little hug. But you could just kind of see it on his face, like he just smiled wide. And I don't care how stalkerish it sounded. It was the truth.
Yeah.
At that point,
I went to go let them play my camera,
and I went to go. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I went to let them play my camera because they would like to take a picture of us two as Christian. And as I'm handing the camera away, I hear "whoa," and I'm like, "Oh my God, what just happened behind me?"
I went to go take a step to get near Christian for the picture, and as I moved my crutch, I just planted my bad foot. The moment I put my weight on it, I knew it was gone because my knee just gave out. And I dropped. My other knee was trying to push it back up, but you can't. I can't support with one knee. My crutches are going everywhere. At this point, I'm thinking, "No, this is great. This looks good. This will be sexy." And as the moment I'm falling, and next thing you know, I just feel something just grabbed me and pulled me back up. and put my crutch underneath me. And before I could even realize what it was, I turn and Christian is next to me, and he literally is still hanging on to me, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Whoa, are you okay?" And I'm literally like almost about to cry. Like I have tears. Tears in my eyes. My lip is quivering. She comes running back, and she's like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" And he was the cutest guy because she explained to him, everything. And at this point, he's still staring at me, and she's like, "Tell him you're all right." And I'm like, "Okay." When really the truth matters, I was more embarrassed than anything. And without missing a beat, she explained to him about my knee. Without missing a beat, he turns to me and he goes, "You gotta get that knee fixed, sweetie." And gives me a wink. And at this point, Dawn turns to me, Dawn's like, "That was the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life."
At that moment, I thought it was so adorable. I just wanted to hug him at that time. Like, I was going to, but I wasn't sure how he all felt. But I just wanted to give him this big hug because it was so adorable.
He took a really embarrassing moment for me and kind of made it okay. Like, at that point, I kind of smiled. Like, it wasn't so much it was still embarrassing, but it wasn't as embarrassing because it was kind of like, he kind of made it funny. And I really appreciate that, and that's why he's moment number 4.
Number 3. And the classic moments number 3 is Cody Rhodes.
That's her number 1.
And you're my number 1. Him and Miz, I like. But anyways, we went up to meet Cody, and I told him this, I'm like, I want to tell him congratulations on the Intercontinental belt because he just won it, and I must have remind me to tell him. And she's like, okay, so he comes down, he was signing to the people in front of us, and this guy totally bites it.
This guy bit it.
I mean, he tripped, fell, he went face first into the cement. He totally bit.
It was like something you'd see off Ridiculousness.
And like we're cracking up laughing. The people
because we're jerks.
That's what we do. And
he was fine. I mean, he was okay.
Fine.
He was fine.
And Cody's like, "What are you guys laughing at?" And we're like, "That guy just bit." And he's like, "Man, I missed it." And I thought it was really cute. I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "He's just like me. He laughs when people fall." And like he comes up to us, and like I'm scared. Like I'm latched onto her. Like I cannot speak. And Melissa's like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, good, you know." And she's like, "Oh, can you sign these?" I'm like holding the sheets for him to sign, and like I'm like shaking, and like he's like trying to sign the sheets, and I'm like shaking them, and he's like, I'm gonna move these. And he's like pulling them out of my hands. I'm just like watching him as he does so, and he like moves them onto the table, and he's like signing the sheets, and I relapsed myself to her, and Melissa's like, I gotta apologize, she's nervous, we're both big fans. And he stops, and he like side-eyes me, and he stands up. He's like, "Really?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're both really big fans, and we love watching you wrestle." And he's like, "Thank you very much." And he like was so gracious, and he's like shocked that he actually had fans.
It was a very genuine thank you. Like it wasn't just like a very like, "Oh, thank you." I mean, he was very genuine, like almost like very sincere, like, "Thank you so much for being." It was a very just a very, good moment.
And then he handed me the sheets back when he got done signing them, and this was like, "Can we get a photo?" And he's like, "Sure." And so I was waiting for him to stand on my other side, and he's like, "Let me squeeze on in." And he started like shaking his butt, trying to scoop between us.
It was the funniest yet cutest moment ever.
And like, I'm like, what is he doing? So I break away from Melissa, and I go to run, and he like literally clotheslines me, stops me. He's like, "Where do you think you're going? You're not going anywhere." And he like turns me around. He's like, "There," and he like hold me there, and I'm like,
I figured she's she's fine. He'll handle it.
And they took the picture, and it was a really cute picture, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm staying next to the Intercontinental Champion." And was like, "Dawn, do you have anything to say to him?" And I just like looked at him. He like looks over to me. He's like waiting for me to say something, and all I could do was just stare. And was like, "She wants to say congratulations on the Intercontinental Championship." And he's like, "Oh, thank you." And like he like looks to me, and like he was waiting for me to say it, and I'm like, "Yeah." And I just like grabbed my camera and ran.
He was very, very sincere, very gracious, like you said, very gracious, very polite, like just very, he seemed humble. Very, very humble, very sincere, like almost shocked, like that people were really proud of him that he won the belt, like very sincere, nothing like his character, very, very sincere, very gracious guy. I mean, really enjoyed meeting him. Definitely suggest it,
Made me want to love him more.
Yeah, I mean, made me want to love him. So he is our instant classic number 3. Classic moment number 2. This was actually our VIP moment when we met Edge. I have been a fan of the Brood since they first debuted. My family tormented me when I was in high school when the Brood debuted, and I like those two, Christian more than Edge, but I was really big fans of them. And I would go in to take a shower, and her and my father would pick the lock of the bathroom.
We'll stick our hand in and turn the lights off and like flicker them.
And as I would scream, I would hear her or my dad go, "It's not me, it's the Brood." This is a torment I went through numerous times a week with these guys. That's our family.
We're assholes.
Anyways, I never got to meet Edge, but I've met Christian a few times. Like I said, I've always kind of favored Christian when, the two, but I love Edge. So when we had the money to meet Edge in VIP, I was like, no brainer, we're definitely doing it. We got up there, did the whole, spiel, got in line. He came out for the VIP. It was actually very quickly, very surprising. I'm standing there
and
on my crutches, and I was kind of on uneven ground. Like, they had one of those cord protector boxes, so I was my legs were kind of uneven. And, when you meet someone, you're kind of trying to process, like, oh my god, that's actually him. And he comes out, and the first thing he does, he comes right to us and shakes our hands. He's like, hi, very friendly, very outgoing, which was kind of surprising. I was like, wow, he's extremely outgoing. And the first thing he does is he shakes my hand, and then he puts one hand on my shoulder and kind of one hand, like, on my tummy, kind of. And he
goes, manhandles her.
Yeah, and the whole time he's like, you can't be comfortable. No, I want you to be comfortable. You can't be comfortable on this thing. No, and he just keeps going on. You can't be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable, sweetie. No. I mean, he continuously goes, and he's asking me these questions, and I'm literally, like, just in a fog. Like, I'm like, I don't know what to say. And he literally kind of manhandles me off the cord protector box over to where there's a flat ground. And as we get over there, he's like, there, that's much better. Is that better, sweetie? And I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, my mind is just a fog. Like, Edge is talking to me, and he's manhandling me. I don't know what to do.
I'm like, she'll be fine, it's Edge. And
I'm like, she'll be fine. Yeah, she's no help.
I'm like, she'll be fine, it's just Edge.
So he signs our photos, and as he's signing our photos, I'm like, I'm so nervous, because I finally get my voice back. And then Dawn decides that, hey, she got her voice back. It's time to really just give her that 1-2 punch.
So she's like, I'm really nervous. And he's like, oh, there's nothing to be nervous about. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, she's been a fan of yours.
No, you didn't say she's been a fan. You said, you don't understand. She has been in love with you since the Brood.
Okay, maybe wrong choice of words, but oh well, it's done with. He, like, smiled, and he, like...
I swear to God, my jaw, like, hit the ground, and all I could do, like, I didn't want to, like, be a jerk, I mean, all I could do is I was just like, thank you, Dawn. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that.
And I'm like, what did I do wrong? I'm like...
she literally was just like, whatever.
He has a bit of smile, he reaches over, gives her a side hug, and he's like, thank you so much, and like...
He was extremely gracious. We got a picture with him. Extremely gracious guy. Very outgoing. Right. And, even he went down and he signed there was a gentleman behind me that was in a wheelchair. He signed for him, and as he came back, he didn't have to do anything, but he came back, and he was still shaking hands with us again. He's like, oh, bye, I'm going to see you soon. Very outgoing guy. Very gracious guy. And for him to come over, and the first thing he did was worry about my comfort and my safety was just, like, that said just a lot to me. Like, for someone to...
Make sure you're comfortable, you're okay, before you even begin.
Some superstars would have just signed a thing and been, like, on their way, but he was more concerned that I was comfortable. And, of course, he's had his own leg injuries. We were there one time, but it's one of those things where it was just, that said so much to me. So he is our instant classic. Number 2.
Number 1. This one's actually Tyson, Drew. You probably...
Tyson, Kidd, and Drew McIntyre. Just kind of clarifying there. Oh. Like, there's a lot of Tyson and Drews around there.
There's so many people of those names on the roster. But anyway, you're probably wondering why we chose them compared to those who are actually our favorites.
They're actually a 2-part story.
They're actually unique compared to the others.
We first of all, I'll start by the first story. We were actually in SummerSlam Axxess, and there is a walkway where they walk the superstars down, and they're inside, and you can see through the windows.
I was playing with my camera, looking at the photos.
I was kind of just standing there, kind of watching the thing, and I saw someone coming, and I was like, I'm nosy. So I'm kind of watching, and it's Tyson Kidd and Drew McIntyre walking with the security guard. And next thing you know, like, they're walking, and Tyson sees me, and I've never met them before in my life, and Tyson goes, and as a big tool, I go,
and I'm sitting there, I was like, I see her waving, she's like, hey, I'm like, who the hell are you saying hi to? And she's like, Tyson Kidd, apparently. I'm like, what?
So I point over to inside the thing, and as Dawn looks over, Tyson kind of, like, taps Drew on the shoulder, and Drew looks, and they both kind of look, and they're laughing, and me and Dawn, of course, because we're tools, we're like, so like, it was a very cute moment, very random, and so later on that night after we met everybody, they were still signing autographs, so we figured, you know what, we already have one with them. Why not add to it?
So we go up there, and Tyson sees us, and he, like, waves, and he, like, chuckles, and he taps Drew, and he's like, Drew, and he, like, points to us, and, like, Drew smiles, and he, like, waves, and we're like, okay, that's odd, you know. And they come down, they're, like, meeting the people in front of us, and we're, like, talking, and Drew comes over, he's like, hey, girls, we're like, hey, you know, and he's like, isn't this amazing? This whole experience is great. And we're like, okay, he's like, don't you think this great? I'm like,
The thing you gotta know about Dawn, is Dawn will downplay everything. Like, she could have
be, like, nervous and
she could have an axe in her head, and she'd be like, I'm fine.
Like, I might be nervous on the side, on the inside, but it's very hard to get me to show it on the outside. Like, after the experiences, I will show it. When they're not around, it's okay for me to be embarrassed myself. It's fine. But
so he is, like, so excited. He's like, this is great. And she goes,
and he's like, and he's like, you tell me just, and he's like going on about me going, and I'm like, say that. And this is like, Dawn say something, make him stop. And like, the people in front like, we want a picture, Drew, come here, Drew, we want a picture. And he's like, no, I'm not leaving until she says this is amazing.
And so I'm like, Dawn, you need to say something. And so without missing a beat, Dawn goes, it's amazing.
He's like, no, you just gotta be more into it than just saying it that way. So I'm like, this is amazing. And he's like, there we go, that's all I wanted.
So he goes and finally gets a picture taken with the family. So then it's our turn to get our pictures. And what we were gonna do is we were gonna stand between Drew and Tyson. As we're walking in, I walk by Drew, he jumps between me and Dawn, and he goes, no, we've already separated you two, which was weird.
We're like, what? And
whatever.
He's like, no. He's like, we decide, there's two of you, and you're both sisters, we're each going to get a sister, and we're like, really? Like, okay.
Whatever. So, we're standing there, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Drew turns to me, and he goes, can I have your crutch? And I, like, looked at him like, well, I kind of need him while I'm standing, and he's like, well, just one. And I'm like, what the hell? So I let him take one, and this man was so happy.
He turns to me, he's like, she gave me her crutch.
He was so excited.
He was smiling like ear to ear. He's like, I got her crutch. I'm like, congratulations.
He was like posing with it with a gun, like, and you'll see the picture, he's posing with it like it's a gun, and I'm like watching him and Tyson Kidd. It was like the best. Tyson Kidd's like, what an idiot. And I was like, just staring at him, and he's like, why did you give him your crutch? And I was like, he asked. And Tyson's like, do you give everyone everything they ask? At that point, I was like, there's no way I can answer that without coming off smelling like a rose. So I was like, just not going to answer that. And Tyson looked at me, and he was like, I wouldn't either. I was like, seemed very funny guys. Just, it was the most unique meeting I've ever had.
With any wrestler to this day.
But it made the day. And then, like, afterwards, you know, they take the picture, and I put my hand out for my crutch, and Drew's like, no, lift your arm. And I was like, are you for real right now? He would not give it back to me unless I lifted my arm, and he could place it under my arm into my armpit. Not the most flattering thing, but it was the most unique moment. But
and, like, we went to leave, and they're like, bye, sisters, and we're like, bye. We're like, how do you know we were sisters?
Which is kind of the title of the show.
Yeah, hence why we titled it the way we titled it. And we're like, how do you know we were sisters? We're like, how do we not know? And we're like, okay.
It was a very weird meeting. That's part of the reason why we put him number one, because it was so unique and so out of there. But it made us smile, and it's still a story we talk about
to this day. And we said, Tyson doesn't improve, or Drew doesn't improve. We don't know why Tyson chose her, or why Drew picked me.
It was a really cute moment.
And now, you know, like, before then, they weren't, like...
We weren't really big fans of theirs, and now, like, every time, if we go to an event and Tyson Kidd comes out, we both scream. Drew comes out, we scream. Like,
we're both, like, bigger fans. Like, yeah, we liked them, we knew them, and, like, we liked the Hart Foundation, we liked Drew beforehand,
But that just made us, I mean, they were just, it was such a unique meeting, but it was meetings like that make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
It was a great story. And that is why they are instant classic number one.
Priceless. Oh, baby, I'm priceless.
Our priceless person of 2011 is actually Justin Gabriel.
Oh, I love Justin Gabriel.
The reason why we chose him is because, you know, like we explained, priceless people are the people that go out of their way to do something. Justin Gabriel was the very first person we met. At that point,
we thought Melissa could make it up the stairs, because she can go upstairs to an extent, but her knee can only bend so far. So we assumed she could make it up the steps. So
when we got to the stage where the steps were to meet him, we waited in line. When we got all the way up there,
I walked up the stairs. I turned around and started to
we
go
realized
help her.
that I can't make it up the steps. My knee will not let me go up the steps. At this point, there's no other way. She's like, ha! And the security guy's like, don't you dare jump. And I'm like, okay. And So at this point, I'm angry because I'm
and
like...
just as watching the whole thing, like,
so at this point,
on?
I just kind of, like, shoved her up. I was like, just go meet him. At least one of us can meet him. And I, like, you know, hobbled off to the stage. And I was mad because I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking logically, oh my god, I just spent over $200 on tickets and I'm not going to be able to meet a single person. And that made me mad.
And while I was up there meeting him, back in my mind, I'm like, what are we going to do now? I'm like, she can't meet anyone, she can't make it up to the stage. I'm like, I was like feeling horrible. I felt horrible because I'm like, she can't meet him. And here I am being able to meet all these people and she's not going to be able to. So he's like signing my thing. I'm like, hey, how are you? He's like, I'm good, you? And he's like, I'm like, oh, that's good. And like, I'm like, he's like, is that your sister? I'm like, yeah, that's my sister, you know. And he's like, he turns, he's like trying to wave to her. At
this point, I'm too busy in my own little pity party that I'm like grumbling. I'm not looking. I'm not paying attention.
And I'm like, hold on. And I'm like, Melissa. And she's like, she like snaps her head and looks, and he like smiles, and he like waves, and she like blushes, and she's like smiling.
It was really cute, and I figured, well, that's kind of cool. At least I don't get to meet him, but at least I got, you know, at least he acknowledged me. And so she comes down, and security guard is like, well, just kind of hang out. And I was like, hang out, you know, I'm not going to hang out. He's like, no, just hang.
And I'm like, listen, maybe we should just hang down. Like, maybe we just stay just in Gabriel for a little while longer.
I mean, I figured at the least maybe they'll, you know, maybe take my thing up there and get him signed or something. And without missing a beat, no more than 2 seconds later, Justin Gabriel jumps off the stage, comes running over to me,
wraps his arm around me.
Without even question, just comes over, wraps his arm around me, and he's like, hey, and I'm like, hi, and he's like, you should have just called me, I would have come over and got you, sweetie, and I was like, okay, like, it was like, very, you know, very, just, it made my day that he, you know, and then he was like, do you want me to sign that? And he, like, signed it, and then he was like,
here, let me get a phone with you.
Yeah, and he's like, let's get a picture. Like, it was, for him to just do that, to come over, you know, number one, to kind of make, you know, he saw how angry I was, and to reach out and to kind of wave, and then to just jump off and come over to me, and just treat it like,
no big deal, like nothing just happened.
Big deal. And like, you know, like it didn't matter, and like, oh, I'll come over, I would have come over and got you. It was just, you know, such a sweet moment that we had to make him the priceless person of 2011. It was a great moment.
That awesome moment.
It was a great moment, and he really turned the day around.
Yeah, he is such an adorable man. He's cute, very friendly. He's very down to earth, and
just really turned the whole day around. And that is why he's our priceless person of SummerSlam Axxess 2011.